another episode of Live Talks with me, Fawole. Today we have an amazing guy on the show, Andy George. But Andy doesn't want to be on camera, and I respect Andy, and so I'm allowing him to be off camera. We're going to talk about a subject that is very, very important that we talk about it as black people, and it's also very important because it affects a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people have got the information they need on this particular subject. This subject is sickle cell, anemia. I think, is that the right? Yeah. So this is what we're gonna talk about today. Please, enjoy your day. Be nice to people. This is just my story, but as you know, life is a story. It keeps going on. Life talks. So you got to just listen. God bless you. Oh yeah, not to forget. The wizard, I can't even see you. There he is. Let's go. All right, episode 2. Andy.
Hello.
How you doing, sir?
Not too bad.
Nice to have you in the studio, Andy.
It's nice to be here.
Yes, so you're Andy George in the studio. Yeah! Some love. You know you should be on camera. You know we'll be on camera. This is the first of me, and only because you stressed that you wasn't aware that it was filmed. I should have construed this to you before. I thought you knew.
It's my ignorance. I was asking
Mac
what a podcast actually was, and he explained that it was on. Most of them are done on camera. So my ignorance. I'm sorry. I would have come better presented if I'd have known.
Yeah. You don't. I feel like your presentation is adequate, but like here we do things. Everyone has to feel comfortable as far as I'm concerned. So I have to feel comfortable. So let's talk about you. I want to talk about you as a person, as a human being first.
Okay.
And then we can get into other stuff if that's okay with you.
Yeah, by all means.
So how old are you, sir?
So I'm 43 at the moment.
43. Don't look that old. Too.
No, I'm 43.
You sure?
It's true. When you get to a certain age, people forget their age, and you forget. Hang on a second.
You checking your birthday?
I'm checking.
He's checking his birthday.
No, I'm 44. Sorry.
You're 44?
I'm 44.
Well, you did get it wrong.
I did
What's
get
your
it.
birthday?
Yeah, 1979.
No, when's your birthday?
Oh, November 17th.
November 17th?
Yeah, 1979.
Nice
That's when I was born.
Cool. 1979. Cool.
So I'll be 45 this year.
45 this year?
Yeah.
Cool. And
I had a senior moment then.
Huh? It's crazy. What was you like as a child?
As a child, I was very, 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 very disruptive. Disruptive. As a
How we doing for sound clear? Yeah, cool. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was very disruptive.
What do you mean disruptive?
As a child, I was always in trouble. Primary school, secondary school, couldn't seem to keep out of trouble. Now, what the root cause of that is, I don't know. But I used to have throw tantrums, pretty bad tantrums, and I was just an all-round problem during my young.
You say you was disruptive, right? Okay, tantrums is a disruptive thing. What age was you throwing a tantrum up until? When did they start first and foremost? Because I want to address that. What you're saying.
I couldn't tell you when they started, but I was acutely aware of them when I was about maybe 6, 7 years old. Definitely in the first few years of primary school. I always was in another classroom, or I was away from kids that were my own age, and I was always with the headmaster or the deputy head teacher, and I used to have to be looked after, if you like, in their classes, because I couldn't be around other children my age.
So how did that manifest? Like when you threw a tantrum, what did that look like?
Well, in one instance, I threw an overhead projector at a teacher. Now, I didn't pick it up and throw it, but I used my strength and shoved it off the table toward the teacher. That's something that sticks quite poignantly in my mind.
Is that one of your worst episodes?
Possibly, but that was one of the very early on things that I did. I couldn't really tell you, incident from incident, but I was always outside.
You know why you did it?
Couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell why you did it.
I couldn't tell you why. I couldn't.
Academically, what were you like? Was you
Average.
average?
Straight across the board, average.
What was it? What was it like?
C grade student, right across the board.
What about at home?
Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah,
You
seriously.
sound like an A student the way you talk.
Seven GCSEs, all C's.
Okay,
Yeah, no, nothing else. No B's, no A's, nothing else.
okay.
Straight across the board. I had the notion that there was no point in revising what I'd been taught if it didn't go in the first time. So I would never revise. So I'd always go into an exam pretty much with the knowledge that was given to me at the time it was given. Never revised. I didn't know how to revise. I didn't know what revision looked like.
Okay.
So yeah.
Would you say you might have, I don't know, ADHD, ADD, anything?
Well, no one had that. Well, no one had that.
No one had
we
it.
were
No
going
one-
out. No one had that.
no
So-
one- there was no
and it's a
definition of
question that I ask, because if you said that, with autism now and ADHD and all of these things, they're acutely aware of these things in schools. But if you had to ask me which students had that in your secondary school, I wouldn't be able to point to any, because if they were stupid, they were just stupid. We didn't. This is in the late 80s and and the early 90s. This stuff wasn't heard of.
The labels weren't there. There was
The
no
labels
difference.
weren't there.
You just get.
But they
pushed up
probably
fast.
would. They probably would have labeled me with something like that. if it was
Disruptive.
this-
You get labels disruptive.
Yeah, definitely,
Uh,
definitely.
do you, how many other? What school did you go to?
St Mary's
St Mary's,
in Hendon.
Camden,
Hendon.
Hendon. Was it boys' school,
They
girls'
knocked-
school,
It
mixed?
was a mixed school. They knocked that down a long time ago. That school's gone.
How many other black people were there? Was it mixed?
Oh, it was plenty.
Yeah.
Plenty. Everyone from Willesden, Neasden, Harsden, Stonebridge,
Yeah.
Wembley, everyone from
So
them
West
ends.
London.
Yeah, that was in that
North
school.
West
So I was around, and my friends today are still the friends I met in year 7,
Okay.
and some from primary school. So
Okay.
I was amongst. It wasn't no. I was amongst my own people, if you want to
Okay.
call it that.
What's your fondest childhood memories?
Fondest childhood memory. Give me some. Narrow it down. Make it more narrow for me.
From what, you have brothers and sisters?
Yes and no.
Yes and no. What do you mean?
Well, I was a foster child,
Okay.
so I have brothers and sisters, but I didn't grow up with them.
From what age?
I think I went into care when I was about 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old.
So
I was a baby. I was
yeah.
a
So you
baby.
wouldn't you attribute some of your behavioural problems towards derived from that?
Well, maybe there's
You
some
haven't
kind
got,
of.
You haven't got a solid mother and father unit.
No. I did have that. When I went into foster care, I was the last child that my foster parents fostered, and they were old school Jamaican. Like my mum, she's still alive today, and she's
Not your biological mother.
not my biological mum, no. And if I'm 44, she's 95 this year.
Wow.
She's in Jamaica, and she's the woman that raised me. My dad died in 2006,
Rest in
and he
peace.
was 91 years old when he died. So
You're not your biological father.
no. So I was raised by old school Jamaicans, and with all of the issues, if you like, that came with that. I definitely had that upbringing, which you would have wanted. Maybe not which you would have understood at the time, because they were very strict. But certainly, if I look at my life now and the attributes that I have and the moral lessons that I've been taught, I would definitely say something stuck there, something good stuck.
I digressed in my head. Sorry, when you talk about that old school Jamaican person, I just
You had
saw stuff in my
flashback.
head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's exactly like you would imagine.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there's definitely benefits and pitfalls to that. What do you think the benefits of that were for you?
I see things now on TV and in life whereby I'm just in shock and awe at how some children behave, and what people are allowed to get away with and what people actually say to their parents and get away with. And I think to myself, my mouth would have been slapped off my face if I'd have dared say half the things that some of these kids are saying to their parents now. So, I would say whilst I was in it, it was horrible. Not being allowed to go anywhere, not being able to do anything, not being able to, but then when you get older, you realize why they're doing, why they do those things. And my foster family was a very, very big family. And if you look at them now, none of them went to prison. None of them ever been in any kind of trouble with the police. They're all, we say for want of a better word, model citizens. So if I come from that stock, then I can't really say. Maybe it was what I needed. Maybe with the tantrums and with the blowing up when I was young, maybe that's what I needed to sort of, I needed to be in that place, and be raised up in that place to prevent me from getting worse,
So
growing off the road.
So what would you, because as you're saying things are illuminating to me. What would you call that? What the way you was treated, the way you was brought up?
Oh, it was barefaced torture.
Torture.
Yeah, I know that's a strong word, but that's what it felt like.
Why did you say it was torture?
Because.
Were you listening?
Like if I was.
No. Good answer.
Like if I was with my.
Don't know why not.
My dad was especially. I won't say bad, but tough. You couldn't say you had to know when to shut the hell up, if you know what I mean. You couldn't put a foot word wrong, or a word, even a look he would give you that just sends shivers down your spine. That's the type of upbringing that I had. Wasn't a stranger to getting the belt.
Yeah. But you said yourself that no one went to prison. No one, everyone's living a decent life now.
That's
that
right.
Came through that through your family.
Yeah.
So I would rebuttal and say a lot of these things come from a place of love. That was a love.
Of course, but
if you let a child run wild and do whatever, say whatever,
yeah.
and then be able to be at the mercy of the law and the powers that be on the street, that's what we're seeing today.
That's right.
So there must have been, even though it could have been traumatizing, and horrendous from your perspective.
Yeah.
From your parents' perspective,
yeah,
they know the world more than the kids know the world, so they're giving you stuff to work in the world with. You know what I'm saying?
If you think about it, that's exactly right, because the law ain't gonna have no pity on you.
At all.
The statue of justice, she's wearing a blindfold, remember, and it's the same severity how the law will deal with you if you were running wild in society. It's the same consequences that I had at home. Like
you've been taught.
Yeah, that's right.
They say charity begins at home. So
I'll give you an example. Like if I'd done something wrong at school, I remember one time, it was the beginning of the day, and I'd gone into the school building, and apparently I'd gone in too early because the bell hadn't rung or something like that. And one of the deputy head teachers stopped me. I said, what are you doing in the building? And I was like, well, we've just been let in. The door's open, been let in. And she said, come out, or whatever it was. And I muttered under my breath. I said, for F's sake, under my breath.
For fuck's sake.
That's the one.
Yeah, you don't even swear now. Wow.
And
that's a good upbringing, bro.
And she heard me, right? And she dragged me into the office and called my parents at home. That's the face. And told them exactly what I said. Now, this was at the beginning of the school day.
So you white or black woman?
This is some white woman. This is some white teacher. Now, imagine this happened at 9 a.m. in the morning. School broke up at I think 3:35. Do you know how I was scared the whole day? Yeah. And that day went fast. That day went fast, right? And I was walking home trembling at the ramifications of that report going back to my folks and the consequence and the trouble that I will be when I get home. Now, if that don't keep you, if that's not something that keeps you on the straight, I don't know what does. But I'll never forget that. Trembling, afraid to go home, afraid.
So there's a benefit to the old school way of teaching, even though it might be archaic and maybe Neanderthalic, even like tyrannical, even. There's a method. I mean, there's a method to the madness.
Yeah, of course.
Right? There's a method.
Yeah, there's a method in the madness.
Method in the madness, because that the kids today, what they're scared of.
Nothing.
And what do we see them behave? What do we see them doing? And how they're behaving?
Nothing.
Like you've got a lot of people who are losing their minds and losing certain things because they haven't got a focus on properly. They haven't been like almost told what to do. It's a lot, or told what not to do, rather.
There were two things, I'll tell you. There were two things that, because I wasn't just left in the lurch, so to speak. There were two things which happened, and at my dad's funeral, I told one of these two stories. And the first thing, I was with my dad.
Rest in peace.
At his allotment, right? And I used to hate going to the allotment, because what is a kid going to do in an allotment? You know, watch the carrots grow. What are you going to do? And we were sitting in the hut. We were sitting
Relax. Yes. Watch the carrots grow. There's something to be said for that.
Was sitting in the shed, and he had a Mars bar, all right? And I was hungry. He had a Mars bar, and he took this Mars bar out, right? And he cut this Mars bar dead down the middle, right? And he gave me half, and he took half for himself. Now that done something for me. That let me know that he loved me. That let me know.
Okay, yeah.
And the second thing is, when my parents went back to Jamaica to live.
No words said at all, innit?
No words, not nary a word spoken.
Yeah.
Right? And the second thing.
That was the beauty of that allotment, bro.
Just peace and quiet. Yeah? And the second thing is, see, then my parents went back to Jamaica, and I was living with another one of their children. So I was still in care, if you like. And he was back in the country, and we was all sitting in the living room. And my dad said to my foster sister, within my earshot, I was 17 years old, and he didn't say it to me, he said it to them. He said, he's now at the age where you can loosen the reins a little bit.
Who you are?
He's talking about me.
He's talking about you, but he's not
talking to me.
He's talking to,
talking to them.
Yeah.
He's now at the age where you can loosen the reins a little bit. But if he gets out of control, you tighten those reins back up again.
Why do you think that?
And that just went, that just blew my mind, because it was at that point, like you said, that I knew that everything that I had been through, all of that madness,
what you perceived as
what
madness,
I perceived as madness and tyranny, right? There was methodology in it.
Yeah.
And I never forget those two. I'll never forget those two instances. And ever since then, I was never in any trouble anymore. I never.
Because you applied the lessons you were taught, you understood.
And a year later, when I was 18, I was living on my own.
Look at that. Look at that.
Living on my own and making decisions for myself. And that is an eye opener. That is a massive eye opener. When you're a child and you haven't really been exposed to much, and all of a sudden you're responsible for so much.
Yeah. A lot of people fuck up.
You got to put food on your own table. That's a very, 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 very.
The lights on. Yeah. Nourish yourself and everything.
And that wasn't easy. That wasn't easy at times. But that's another whole story.
We can digress into that. How many siblings did you live with?
Just one.
Just one.
Yeah, my older brother.
Okay, so when you was foster, it was just two of you.
Two of us. Yeah, okay. My older brother.
So who was it? You said there was a sister or someone else was in the East?
On my dad's side.
So no, but you said there was a.
Oh no, but these were that was the foster family.
Yeah, how many children?
So you have to remember that because my parents were so old. So even though I was the last foster child that they fostered.
Yeah.
So when I was living with my foster sister, they were already in their 30s. So they were already adults. So I'm 16, 17, they're already adults.
Okay.
So that's where that age difference is. Okay. But if they're my parents, they're also their parents. That's why I just call them my sisters and my brothers.
Okay.
And that was a very big family. But it was big. I wouldn't like my mum. She's a great grandmother. Yeah.
5 times.
Yeah. Big time. Wow. Peer kids, peer family. Wow. Peer family. Yeah.
Your
great grandmother.
Your mom.
My mom.
Your heritage is Jamaican as well.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But Jamaican on my mum's side. So Jamaican on my mum's side, my biological mum's side, Dominican on my dad's side, but on my foster family side, both Jamaican.
Jamaican, okay.
So when I was growing up,
Dominica, not Dominican, not Republican.
no,
Dominica.
Dominican.
Okay, in
Yeah.
Caribbean.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, every summer we'd go to Jamaica
You're lucky.
for 6 weeks. Yeah, we'd go to Jamaica every. So I've been to Jamaica like scores of times, you know, over the years. And so that's really where I identified, you know, really where I sort of like I identified, because that's what I was raised in.
What's your fondest childhood memory?
I couldn't tell you fondest, but I used to like being what's the word, swaddled as a child. I remember that someone told me that.
As we what?
I used to like to be swaddled as a child.
Swaddled.
Yeah, swaddled.
What's that?
Yeah,
Like.
like tucked in, like, you know,
Oh, okay.
You know, you can't move your arms and you
Yeah,
just like that. Yeah, something about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone told me that actually
Okay.
the other day. You
Okay.
used to like to be swaddled as a child, and I always used to pay my big brother to tuck me in.
So you used to
at
pay him.
night. I used to pay him to tuck me in at night,
How much?
like 10 pence,
Yeah.
20 pence, something like that.
Yeah.
That was big money. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's like a fifth. That's like a fifth of my pocket money gone right there.
Yeah.
I used to get a pound. I used to get a
Pound
pound.
go far.
Yeah.
My boy used to be 20p or 15p.
Come on, man. Half penny sweets.
Oh, come on.
Do you remember half penny sweets?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah,
do you-
I remember half penny sweets.
Do you remember when they took away the half penny? And the
Yeah.
half penny sweets became penny sweets.
Yeah.
That's 100% interest.
Yeah.
That's 100% interest. What is going on?
They doubled it up. They doubled it
Yeah,
up.
for a pound, you used to be able to get a can of soft drink, a bag of crisps, and a chocolate bar.
Yeah.
And them Snicker
there's
bars,
a
they were
pretty
big
still.
marathon bars, them big chunky marathon bars.
Yeah.
Come on,
Kit Kat.
don't mess around.
Or cool. I used to like the bull sweets.
Don't mess around, yeah.
The boy was
And it used to be in the little
giant,
plastic,
yeah,
the little
yeah,
plastic, yeah. A
And
quarter,
pick that
please.
one,
Dolly
pick that
mixtures.
one,
Yeah,
Hair drops.
standard.
Come on.
Pure teeth rotters in there, man.
Come on. So how did that fare for you living like traveling to Jamaica regularly?
Yeah.
And then being based in London?
Yeah.
Like that must have broadened your horizon immensely.
Oh, of course it did. And I got the bug for traveling, you know, again, when I started to, you know, live for myself and, you know, and answer to myself. And, but I always used to never go anywhere unless I fly home to see my mum first. If I got money to leave the country, I would always go back to Jamaica first to go visit, you know, my mum, say hi. You don't, you know, you got money to leave the country, you got money to go say hello to your mum. So that's what I always used to do.
Nice.
You know?
Nice.
Yeah. I remember one time I flew from Jamaica. I had a friend who was working in Kenya, and I flew from Heathrow to Jamaica back to Heathrow, and then Heathrow straight away. Didn't even leave the airport. Heathrow back to Kenya to go see my friend. Yeah.
Would you get that I want to call it ethos or work ethic, or where did you get that just to move like that, the way you move, like to be able to do, you know, like I want to go to see my brother in Kenya, but I'm not going to go see mum first. You save enough money, you go see mum, then boom, go there. That's hard work, bro.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
that's not a simple
and
thing.
it was cheaper to fly from Jamaica back to Heathrow and then go from Heathrow and then go to Heathrow to Kenya than it would be to go straight from Jamaica
to Kenya.
Yeah, so it was like boom, 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 like that, and then back. Yeah, but again, it comes from. These are the people that stood you on your own 2 feet. You know? Now, if you don't have the notion that you owe, not that you owe them something, but that you just love them. It's love.
It's appreciation.
It's love.
It's appreciation.
It's love.
Yeah.
You know?
Appreciative.
It's love. I can't. I talk to my mum on the phone. I talk to my mum on the phone now, and she tells me certain things. Like when I was young, I'm just in tears. You know? Just in tears.
Yeah.
Just humbled at the fact that when I was at that point in my life, I was taken out of the fire, so to speak, you know? And to somebody who's not my blood relation, but somebody wanted me, somebody wanted to love me, and somebody did love me, and had enough love in them to be able to, you know, I can't even go too much into it, overwhelming me now. But it's a really, really
You're quiet,
for the
you're
longest
quiet, you're not on
time.
the camera.
For the longest time, I used to feel that I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't wanted. You know, I had a very big problem with rejection growing up. You know,
You say that's where some of your behavioural problems came from,
maybe
like preemptive strikes and that. You know, like trying to make sure that.
I'm definitely that type of person.
Yeah, before they get a chance to do anything about it to
I'm
them.
that type of person. I'm that type of person. And that type of person scares me. That's something, that's a side of myself.
Well, that part of your character scares you.
me. Yeah.
Because you're aware of how dangerous it is.
Yeah.
That's probably what that is.
Yeah.
You know how powerful and how dangerous that could be, and how what that part of your character was prepared to do to prevent certain things happening.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Because that's pure amygdala. That's pure fight or flight. That's animalistic. That's raw. That's it.
Preaching to the choir, bro.
Yeah.
So you preach a lot. Everyone knows their dark sides.
Oh yeah.
Some people don't even know they've got a dark side, and they end up behind the door before they can even
I tell you,
access it and understand it.
I'm not scared of no man, except for myself.
Wow. I've never heard that. I've never heard that statement before, you know. I haven't heard that before. I've heard I'm not scared of no man, that I'm ready to go. But I've never heard no one say I'm not scared of anyone but myself. But that's very, very poignant. That's serious. That's a serious statement.
Can you define it? Break it down? What do you mean?
It's at that point where, you know, like, okay, I'll use an analogy. You know, like in an American football game, the guy who's got the ball, everybody's just gunning for him, right? And he may have the ball and he may be on the floor, and everybody, like in rugby as well, everybody they just pile on top, pile on top. Now, there's a big part of me that is adamant that it's my life to control, right? Now, when I perceive myself in a situation where I'm losing control's being taken away from me, or that somebody has power over me, that makes me very, very, very uncomfortable. That makes me very, very uncomfortable. Because then I'm no longer in charge, if you like, of my own destiny. But in this world, you have to live under authority. You live under authority at work, because you have a manager that's above you and you have a manager that's above them. You live under authority in terms of the law. And I'm sure there are other situations where you could say that you live under authority as well, even maybe at home if you still live with your parents. You're living under some kind of system of control. But it's when I perceive that becomes too much for me, that's when I start to get very, very uncomfortable. And I look to change that circumstance. I look to change those strings, if you like, because I'll only be controlled or dominated to a degree where I'm comfortable with.
So where's the fear come from though? Because that's what you're saying. Because like what you said was the only man you fear is yourself. Like if you used to ask me that, I could ask you. You know, like what if you ask me this? But I want to know, because there's something in you. You know what you're capable of doing. You know what you would do, or you know if you're rejected or what rejection means to you, how you'd react. Like some people could implode, some people explode. Do you know what I'm saying? Like so, you know what you're scared of. I don't know what you're scared of. But you know what you know what I'm saying to you.
That's a funny thing you say. You should say that, because what happens with me is I implode first, and then what is then happening is that has to have that implosion. It has to be released somehow. Do you see what I mean? It can't just
contain it. It has to
contain it.
Yeah.
And I just have to prevent myself from getting to that stage. Or getting in that state, because already you start to envisage what you'll do in that scenario, and unless you get that under control, you will find yourself acting out what it is that you've envisaged. But I mean, you know, if I said to you, there's no such thing as seeing into the future, right? People say, of course there isn't. But the other day I was having this thought. I had some things to do, right? Like go to the post office, do some things. And what I planned out in my head the day before, I said, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go here. Now, what I planned out in my head the day before is exactly what I did the next day. Almost verbatim how I planned it in my mind. And I just found out that was quite interesting to me. So it is in the same way that you have a notion of what it is that you're going to do in any situation. So is in the same way, if somebody's wronged you and you're seeking to avenge yourself, I know that sounds a bit corny maybe to say, but you're seeking to avenge, you're going to plan up what it is that you're going to do. I guess that's why they call it premeditated action, because it's something that you've thought on. It's something that you put steps into motion in order for you to execute that action.
So you're saying once you're...
So I'm saying is once you get to that stage, I don't think I'd be able to pull myself back from that stage.
Okay, so you prevent yourself from getting to that stage?
Yeah.
Cool.
And sometimes that's you allowing yourself to get buoyed up and people having power over you that you'd rather not.
No, but it's not. I don't. See, I was having this conversation with a very good friend of mine, a colleague, yesterday, and he said he thinks when he loses it, that's when he loses. Those were his exact words. He said, when I lose it, that's when I lose. And I don't want to lose it because that's when I lose. It doesn't matter whether I can take the person on or I can outshout them or gun them. But once I
At that
lose
point, it doesn't matter. At that point,
I've lost.
Yeah.
So I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm a very, very tolerant person. Very, very tolerant person. But I'm a very impatient person. Very impatient. And I to understand that, you know, having that ability to take and take and take and take and take, but then at the same time being anxious or irritable for something which is a long time coming I can't take. Yeah, that's something else. But yeah, that's something something else about me, you know, that I realized. Yeah.
How well do you know yourself? Would you believe you know yourself?
I don't know myself at all.
Don't know yourself at
I don't
all.
know myself at all.
It's a very good answer.
I'm still finding out.
Searching though to find out. Or do you
15
just-
years.
Yeah.
15 years. I mean, when I got to the age of 30, my life changed.
Why?
Well, first of all, everything came to a head when I was 30. Everything that I'd been running from all my life, you know, it all came to a head.
I want to put a pin in the 30 because I want us to talk about. Cause I want it to be clear to everyone at home and everything. Exactly the reason we're talking today, because it is because of life talks. We talk about everyone about their lives, but this interview derived from an interview from someone else who came on the show. I spoke to you. There's stuff that you deal with physically that happens to people in our community more than other communities.
That's right.
They deal with physically that we want to illuminate and kind of like talk about, educate people on, and have a different comprehension of some of the things you go through, some of the ways to help, and just kind of like shine a light on it.
Yeah.
So before we talk about things come to head, because there's stuff within that, just that what you said, because some on that tip, me speaking to other people might not have. I'm not going to do it. I was going to kill the fly, but I'm not going to kill the fly. I'm going to be a Buddhist. It's right there. I could have slammed it, but I'm going to be a Buddhist today. In light of what we're talking about, yeah. But if it flies in my face, I'm going to have to kill it afterwards. Yeah. Okay, so you have what we call it, a condition?
That's right, yeah. So
call it a condition.
you mentioned it earlier, the sickle cell anemia. It's a part of my life, which I have to contend with, I would say, from time to time. And yeah, you're right. That's how we got on, you know, to the subject and the idea of coming on to show to talk.
Yeah, and you were born with this.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I was. Yeah, of course. It's a hereditary condition. It's not something that you pick up midlife. It's something that you're born with.
It's what I'm gonna ask you, Andy. Yeah, is just for the viewers at home to elaborate on exactly the condition that you have, how it derives, who it affects, how we can make a difference, how it's made a difference in your life. No, we'll digress into that. We'll just talk about exactly what the conditions that you have
So
and who it affects.
So sickle cell disease is a disease which is a problem with the oxygen carrying hemoglobin in the bloodstream. It is you get it by receiving a defective hemoglobin from each of your parents. How I came to have the disease is because both of my parents were carriers of this defective hemoglobin, and by giving a defective hemoglobin, to me, I came to have the full blown disease. So
they both had the full-blown disease?
no, they both had,
trait.
they were both carriers. Yeah, it's called the trait. Yeah. So I inherited from each parent the defective hemoglobin of sickle cell, and that's how I come to have this sickle cell, disease. Again, it's a condition where the oxygen carrying hemoglobin loses shape and becomes the shape of a sickle. You know, like on the
Like a crescent kind of thing.
like a crescent, yeah, like the crescent shape, and that's not able to carry oxygen around the body as well as the normal blood cell, the normal hemoglobin, and that's what causes the degenerative disorders that you have relating from degenerative disorders
Okay.
that you have. Yeah,
Cool. It's a mouthful.
yeah, it's a mouthful.
Is it curable?
No, it's only manageable.
It's only
It's
manageable.
only manageable. As yet, they haven't found a cure for sickle cell. If you ask me, the only cure is preventing the disease from spreading.
And prevention of the cure is by, if you have the trait, not sleeping with someone else who has the trait.
That's correct. That's exactly correct. So, both of my parents were unaware that they were carriers of the condition. So when I was given the disease, when I inherited the disease, it wasn't known to them that this would happen. So it's really about educating and being informed about the condition, which will help the spread of it. So if I give you, for an example, my son, he has the trait. He doesn't have the disease. He has the trait, and the reason why he has the trait is because I had the awareness to be able to find a partner that didn't carry the disease, so that my son would not inherit a defective hemoglobin from the mother, because he has to inherit a defective hemoglobin from myself, because I have two. See, whereas my parents had one each and a good cell each, I had two defective hemoglobins, and my child's mother had none. So I have to give one from
yours,
my side, and she has to give one from her side, which is only good.
So you see, your mother and father, they had one good one, one bad one.
Yeah.
Was there any chance of you not getting it because they
Yeah, there's a
had it?
chance, but there is a
higher chance.
There is a
of you getting it.
Yeah, there is a percentage. There is a percentage because and the if we go back to science class now, I forget what it's called.
Educate them, bro. Educate people. Look, people need to know. I don't know. People need to know.
I don't remember the actual terminology,
Okay.
but with any disease, this is not just sickle cell. This is diabetes. This is other conditions as well. They come down through your parents, and they come down through
Hereditary.
So they're hereditary, yeah. So there is a percentage. So with me having two defective hemoglobins, it's almost an absolute certainty, 100%, that my son will have a copy of the disease.
Yeah.
Because I can only give him something which is 100% bad, and his mother can only give him something which is 100% good.
Okay, and that makes sense. It makes so much sense because so if I go to the hospital, they ask you, is there any history of mental illness in your family? Is there any history of this? Is there any history of that? Is there any history of this?
Yeah.
That's why it makes sense to me now.
Yeah, that's the reason.
You get asked these questions. It's always no for me, but I don't know, but that makes sense now.
See, now what they're doing is now if you go into any NHS hospital now, and you're pregnant with a child, they will screen the child already for automatically. Yeah, they'll screen the child automatically
As standard.
Because obviously, as the awareness, I was born in '79, so
You're just a baby.
There's very little. Well, the way I see it, they still don't know much about sickle cell in this day and age, and we're in 2024. Can you imagine back then in 1979 how little they knew about it? So it's through education that you funnel out the disease, because I guarantee you the last thing that you want as a new parent is to have your child screaming and you don't know the reason why, and for that child to be screaming because that child is suffering from the pain of his sickle cell crisis. That's not something that I would wish upon anybody, because
me either.
to see somebody that you love in pain like that,
Yeah.
it's intolerable. And normally a child can be a child can be soothed, can't they, when they're crying? You know, normally they're crying for food, or they're crying for, you know, because they're cold, or they're crying for some other reason. A child's not going to be able to communicate that they're in pain through having a sickle cell crisis. And so unless you know as a parent that your child has sickle cell, how are you going to know what your child needs in that moment when they're in crisis?
When you say sickle cell crisis, because we're acting, I have got some awareness of what you're talking about. Well, let's just act like we
don't
no one
know.
knows. No, because people be hearing this for the first time, and we want to educate people. We want to help people to prevent certain things happening, and to also be empathetic and sympathetic to people who have sickle cell and who are going through things. Because I'll just leave the last person who came on, which is Yemi, someone we both know. He said something that was quite poignant to me, because I work in A&E, I work around the hospital. He said sometimes when you see black people or people from Asian or certain backgrounds in A&E screaming their lungs out, 9 times out of 10, and you don't know why they're screaming, 9 times out of 10 they're having a crisis. And it's not a joke.
No.
It's not something.
It's a medical emergency.
It's a medical emergency. But we,
emergency.
on the outside, we wouldn't. I can't even. I personally, I can't comprehend the pain you go through. I know when I'm sick, you know, but I can't fathom it because I've never had to go through it. Do you know? So yes.
But I mean, we can maybe talk about that later. But there have been some desperate situations where somebody is in that situation in A&E and they're not getting the help or the recognition from the hospital staff that they are having a serious problem. And you know, we come up with prejudices in our mind. You know, when we look at a situation and we think we know what's going on. You know, I always remember the story of the boy who was in A&E and was having a sickle cell crisis and was not given the assistance that he needed from the hospital staff, and the child was in that much despair that he ended up calling the police. Ended up calling 999 on his telephone to call the police, and he lost his life. He lost his life. So now can you kind of see now where I was saying earlier about being in certain situations, and you could say that to a degree the sickle cell disease has some kind of power over me. But what I will not allow, what I will not let happen is when I'm in that situation to not be taken seriously. Because at the end of the day, you as a doctor, you're coming back to work tomorrow. If I lose my life, that's just a bad day in the office for you. If I lose my life, that's it.
You could die.
That's it.
So what can be done about that? Because my understanding is if someone comes in and they've got a head injury, there's certain levels of ICU, there's certain levels of someone's pregnant, there's certain levels. There's certain levels of urgency and attention that's given. If we know that sickle cell is something that can't be seen all the time, but it can potentially kill you, and you have to go off of the patient's testimony
and just what they physically look like.
There should be like, from what you're saying and what has gone on, and I'm oblivious, I'm a real novice right now, but there should be protocols for sickle cell. Isn't it better to overtreat and get it wrong than undertreat and someone dies?
Well, yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
That's exactly it. But the NHS are getting better. They are getting better in that most sickle cell patients will have a pain protocol. So, first of all, a crisis, because we didn't talk about what actually a crisis is. So a crisis is an episode where the sickle cell sufferer will have a number of these hemoglobins that we described earlier collapse and form into the shape of this sickle shape. And what that does is red blood cells travel through the body by bouncing off of each other. They look like donuts. And they bounce off of each other, and this is how oxygen is carried around the body.
Okay.
When the red blood cell turns into a sickle shape, what it does is they stick to each other like a traffic jam, and then that traffic jam then blocks up the blood vessels and the organs in the body and prevents oxygen from being carried to those organs and to those tissues. And then so what you're then having is you're having the death of that tissue happening inside your body of the sickle cell sufferer. And that's where the pain comes from. So the most likable thing to equate it to is if you were subject to extreme cold. And you know when you're extremely cold, your fingers get numb, and then eventually you can get gangrene in those fingers, and eventually those fingers will fall off. That's the pain of sickle cell. Because what's happening is is that essentially your lifeblood in your body is dying inside you.
Inside your body.
It's dying inside
So
you.
you're in, when
And
you're
as
having
the
a
blood
crisis,
dies,
your
the
lifeblood is
organs die, and as the organs die, the host dies. You see what I mean? So you can have cardiac arrest, you can have chest syndromes, which is when you have a sickle cell crisis in your lungs, in your chest.
Let's go back on that, because I slightly interrupted you, sorry. So your blood dies, you can do that chain for me.
So when the red blood cell collapses, it prevents oxygen being carried to the organ of the body because the red blood cells turn into the shape of a sickle, which causes a traffic jam, if you like, in the blood vessel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So whatever blood vessel, whatever organ or tissue that blood is supplying is then in risk of dying. So if you can imagine it in a very, very crude sense, if the blood can't get back to the heart because there's a traffic jam of sickle cell blood, you're likely to have heart failure. You're likely to have a heart attack. If the blood vessels behind your eyes, and you have blood vessels behind your eyes, if they sickle, you're likely to go blind. If the blood vessels in your head sickle, then you're likely to have the appearance of dementia, because what dementia is a failure of the blood cells. So sickle cell can present itself in many, many different ways.
Yeah. So how do you?
So you just have to be aware of it.
So how do you? How do you treat it?
So the way.
So I'm having a crisis. I'm having a blockage right here, right now. Yeah. I'm having pain here now. I go to the hospital. I tell them I'm having pain. What is their procedure? How would they treat it? How do they prevent me from dying there?
Okay, so to treat that, they will want to make sure that you're well hydrated. So you're likely to get a line in, and they'll treat you with fluids. Another thing that they can do is that they can give you oxygen. They'll put the oxygen mask on you to ensure that you're taking in oxygen. Now remember, the reason why the sickle blood cell has formed is because there's not enough oxygen, and your oxygen is likely to be low. So they'll give you oxygen. They give you fluids, they give you oxygen, and to alleviate the pain of the suffering in your arm, in the example that you gave, they'll give you analgesia, which is what they call analgesia, which is what they call pain relief. Okay. Pain medication to alleviate the pain of the.
We spoke fleetingly about the misuse of certain drugs in the States, which caused a blockage of the drugs that could potentially alleviate your pain here in the UK because of people taking them recreationally or just fucking about with them. Yeah. What was that drug we spoke about? Is that Allevia, or is that something else?
No, that's exactly it. That's exactly right.
Okay, so what happened? What was going on? That conversation? Elaborate on that conversation.
So, because of the nature of the condition, when you have people, I'll digress a little bit. When you have people in hospital who are on palliative care, i.e. people who the hospital can now no longer help the condition that you're in, and they're just going to give you drugs to make your passing very comfortable, so you don't feel any pain. So these are the drugs that they use in managing the pain of sickle cell.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, these drugs can be abused because they give the body a certain feeling. People who have come to realize that they take these drugs recreationally just to get that kind of
feel of serenity, the high,
feeling
the
on
euphoria.
the body, the high. Yeah, I think that's what they call it. Yeah, they get that euphoric feeling and the high. Now, sickle cell patients don't experience that when they receive the medication, because the pain is so strong. When you receive these these medications don't. Let's kill the notion that these medications take away the pain. They don't. All they do is that they make the pain less unbearable. They
help you manage
more manageable. But when you're taking these medications and the medications aren't treating any kind of pain in your body, you can then get these feelings of euphoria. Okay. A certain energy rush or other things. Well, typically with the sickle cell, they normally slow you down rather than speed you up like and methamphetamines do. Those drugs have come to be notoriously abused. Many sort of famous people in America have died from taking these drugs. I mean, Heath Ledger's somebody, Prince is somebody, Chandler from Friends had these type of medications, in his body when he was found, in his pool when he died. So yeah, these drugs, these drugs aren't used.
But isn't they calling it fentanyl?
Fentanyl is the name of fentanyl, oxycodone, morphine. These are the names of those sorts of drugs. See what happens is
Scary, bro.
it is scary. I mean, people are silly because they take these drugs, not realizing the effect it's going to have on the body. When your body recognizes that drug in the system, it cannot do anything to combat it. And what happens is that the body is then shook and is shaken and brought into shock. And what happens is that the heart just stops.
Just shuts down.
The heart just stops. It says, forget this, and the body just shuts down. But people with sickle cell, because they're used to these drugs, they're able to deal. It's like alcohol. People who drink on a regular basis can drink more pints than maybe somebody who's not used to drinking. It's the same with sickle cell. The liver becomes accustomed to these drugs and the kidney becomes accustomed to these drugs and can handle it better than somebody who's never received these drugs before.
In that same breath, because I'm going to try and unpack as much as I know and try and get as much as I can out of you on this topic. How about the filtration of drugs that you're given? How
do you mean?
Okay, so how proactive are I don't want to say the NHS, but the powers that be, the doctors or whoever's administering stuff, people giving you stuff, how proactive are they on the flip side of the detox? Because if you take something, you just send it's affects your liver and it's affecting other stuff. If you're taking something into your body, it needs to come out, it needs to be excreted.
That's right.
To go through certain places.
That's right.
If you drink, your liver is affected and
That's
the stuff that affects your kidneys, it feels like overuse of these organs causes problems.
That's right. Overuse of the drugs can cause problems, yeah.
So you're taking drugs to combat a problem that you've got in your body. So you have to take these drugs that are very, very strong.
Yeah.
On a regular basis. I mean, you can't say I'm going to take it 1 month, have a crisis next month, saying no, I'm not going to take it.
Yeah.
You've got a crisis, you have to take it, right?
Yeah. Well,
so
yes and no.
Okay, elaborate on that for me.
Okay, so this might sound crazy, but when I'm in my most serious crises, I don't go to the hospital because at that time, I'm not in control. The pain is so intense. The pain is so bad. My condition is so dire that I can't be exposed to anybody else. And especially from somebody who is meant to be alleviating the suffering.
And they're not doing it how you want it to be
they
supposed to be
don't
done.
do that,
It's a bigger problem.
then it's a big problem.
Yeah.
Because that, in my mind, doesn't compute. I'm in pain. I have this condition. I need relief from my pain now. And unless you're hop into it, I'm going to have something to say about that. So, unfortunately, it's just at home and screaming until the pain decides to alleviate itself. And I can try and do what I can whilst I'm at home.
Smoke weed?
No, I don't smoke. No.
Okay, so why not? Because people say that helps.
I don't do any recreational drugs.
Okay.
I don't do a thing, regardless of whether it would help or not. I don't do that. And also because of my employment, I can't take. I control the movement of heavy machinery. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So
Cool.
you can't do that and be under any kind of.
So then, what would you say in your opinion? I understand you're not taking it because of your own reasons, but would you say?
I would love to take weed. I would love.
So does it help?
I don't know. I've never.
But from other people, have they told you that it helps?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've heard from other people that it can help. That it can help.
That's very strong of you.
Well,
Is that due to your upbringing and the job, or because?
Oh no, I'm not getting on no righteous tip about not taking. No, you do what you need. You do what you need to do.
No, but you don't take it. Why are you not taking it?
Well, if you so remember I told you about these drugs. So you've got fentanyl on the street. You've got people who abuse, oxycodone. You've got people who abuse morphine. Now, I have free access to these drugs. So the way I look at it is that I have enough access to medication that can make me high, if you want to look at it like that, even though it doesn't do that. So
we'll alleviate the pain as well.
I don't need to
Take the piss.
take the piss,
Yeah, don't take
if
the
you
piss.
like. Yeah. You know, I know, but it's more, but it is more to do with other things in my life which are important, which is why I don't choose to in this time of my life. Why I don't choose to do that.
So what we're gonna do, we still got some time, but what I want to make sure we do is at the most we're educating people, because this is the main thing. I want your voice to be spoken and heard. I'm gonna see if I can coax you onto the camera at a later date, because that's what I think is where the money is like. And I don't mean actual money, I mean the money. People need to see you and hear your story and everything. So that's what I want. I need from you, and I think the people at home will need from you as well, to put a face to your voice, and we can get to that in the future. However, I want you to elaborate on some stuff before we finish the interview. We're going to get you back in as well. Hopefully I can get you on camera as well. And if you got that before, but I hope we get it now. But what I want to ask you is what we can do as a community, what we can do as human beings, what we can do as people who haven't got sickle cell. How can we help people that have got sickle cell, raising awareness, giving time? What are the steps that we can take?
Well, when you come, for the most part, my experience when I've been unwell, in the most part, my experience has been positive with regards to people who are around me at the time. You have to remember that the sickle cell sufferer is always going to have the wealth of knowledge with regards to their condition.
The individual who's suffering.
The individual who's suffering. So what I would say is that if you see somebody who's unwell, or somebody's telling you that they're unwell, just listen to that person. They'll be able to tell you what it is that you can do for them. Whether that be to call an ambulance. Sometimes that might even be, no, don't call an ambulance, but if you could help me get to this location quicker, because sometimes somebody taking you to a location is quicker than the ambulance service, because sometimes with the ambulance service they may not understand the severity of where you are, and so they may deprioritize you on their call list and may not get you into the emergency department as quick as maybe somebody who has a head wound, or maybe somebody who's having a heart attack. But you have to also remember that a sickle cell crisis is a medical emergency. So listen to the person who's suffering, see what it is that they say. Not only will they be able to tell you what hospital will be best placed to treat their condition, because these hospitals will have this patient's individual protocol, they'll also be able to tell you things that can be done in the interim, whether that be maybe to get them a glass of water, maybe just like somebody who's having a diabetic, who's suffering from diabetes, and is having something, insulin, they might need a chocolate bar or something like that. It's the same thing with sickle cell. Just get that person to an emergency room where they're known. They'll be able to have access to their protocol. It's not a good idea to take somebody who's suffering from a sickle cell crisis to a hospital which is not their local hospital. The reason why I say this is because when you bring a sickle cell sufferer to a hospital which isn't their local hospital, they don't know what to give this person. They don't know where they are with their analgesia. So they may be underdosing them for what it is that they need. And there may be a delay whilst they contact the home hospital to find out just exactly what it is that they should be receiving. Like, for example, I became unwell near my workplace. And to my protest, I said, do not take me to the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, which was the nearest hospital to where I was at the time. Well, they insisted, and they took me to the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, and they just left me in A&E. I had no access to pain relief. They just gave me paracetamol and just left me in A&E. Now, in that scenario, I had to call my friend who was in the area, who picked me up from that hospital and took me to my home hospital, even though it was on the other side of London, just so I could get access to the care that I needed. And coming into a hospital where I'm recognized and people know my condition, it's always going to be a lot quicker than it is if they bring you to a hospital that doesn't know you and they're not
safer for you as well.
Safer, much safer. So wherever I am in London, I will always try and make it to my home hospital, because there they just pull my protocol and they'll give me the pain relief and the care that I need, because they know. There's a lot to be said for a hospital that knows your condition and knows who you are.
What about when you travel? Have you had any episodes whilst you've been abroad?
I have, yes. I was in Indonesia and I had a bad crisis whilst I was in Indonesia. Now, in that scenario, what do you think I did? No different than what I told you I immediately made my way to my home hospital, which was 30 hours away and 7,760 miles from where I was. I had to fly from Denpasar to Qatar over Moscow, and then into Heathrow Terminal 4. Took me 30 hours to get to my home hospital. And I was in sickle cell crisis that whole time with no pain relief except for paracetamol, because they had no pain relief in the hospital, in the airport. But I left my hotel room after being there for just 3 days. I said to the people that I'm gone with, please pick up my laundry, because I had put my laundry in because it had rained. I'm making my way back to London. And that's what I did. 30 hours. And I was in hospital for 33 days.
What?
Because
when
of
I
the
got back
amount
home.
of time that it took for you to get your medication.
Because of the severity of the crisis and what the underlying cause of the crisis was, which was a chest infection. See, what the body does is the sickle cell, it acts as an alarm system, right? Now, it's like a red light going off. You know that red light in the corner of the room before the alarm sounds? That red light picks it up. So as soon as I went into sickle cell crises, I knew there was something on the horizon. Because with me, the sickle cell doesn't activate unless there's something else wrong with my body. Because my hemoglobin, and this is getting a little bit complicated, I don't have 2 copies of the sickle cell gene. I have 1 copy of the sickle cell gene and a defective C hemoglobin. But that's a bit complicated. So what that means for me is that when I go into crisis, it has to be driven by something. So I knew that when my sickle cell activated, something else more serious was on the horizon. So I needed to make sure that I got myself to a facility that would be able to treat that before I would become incapacitated in the country where I was. And that's why after 3 days, I left. I just said, there's my stuff. Please collect my stuff. I'm going. The minute it happened, I'm going now. I'm not going to leave it a day. I'm not going to, they said to me, Andy, you'll probably be able to get some stuff here. No, I'm leaving now. And by the time I walked up to the desk in the airport, and I said to them, give me a ticket on the next plane going west. That's what I said to the ticket seller. Not give me a ticket. No, don't give me. No, can I have a ticket to London, please? Can I have a ticket to the UK? No, I want a plane ticket. This was something like 1 a.m. I want the next plane going west. And when I get to that location, I'll get on another plane going west. It cost me over 2,000. I think it was about £2,300 to get home. But that's what I did, and that's my resolve, and that's the seriousness with which I treat the disease.
It's your life.
It doesn't scare me.
It's your life.
Yeah.
It's not your disease. It's not the disease. Because if you never done it, you could have died.
I don't play. If you give sickle cell an inch, you're not careful, it'll take your life.
So how important is it for people to give blood?
It's very important for people to give blood.
Elaborate
Not just for people who are sickle cell sufferers. People who give blood for all kinds of reasons, you know. But
not just to give blood for sickle cell sufferers.
No.
That's what you said just now, right? Not to give blood just for sickle cell.
No, of course not. No.
To give blood for very sick. I want to know about that. We can elaborate, but I want to know how important it is for, because specifically you need blood.
But when you give blood and you're given, and that blood is being used for somebody who suffers from sickle cell, a part of their treatment will be to have they're called exchange transfusions. Well, they're not called transfusions; they're called exchanges, blood exchanges. When you have you can have a transfusion as a sickle cell sufferer, but in order to kind of prevent the disease, you'll do an exchange. The difference between the two is a transfusion is where your blood count in your body is low, and they'll give you your blood type, which has been given by a donor, by a donor person, in order to top your blood up. Okay, that's the get out of jail free card. So they're
get out of jail free card.
No, for any sickle cell sufferer, it's the get out of jail free card.
Okay,
They're topping up. You know you've got a low blood count. They're giving you extra blood so they can get you back up. Because if you've got a low blood count and that blood is sickling, that means you virtually, I know it doesn't really make much sense to the person who doesn't, but virtually you've got no blood in your body. Good whole working.
Because the blood you got in there ain't working
it's
properly, basically.
It's not doing what it's supposed to do.
So it's low already and then it's not even working.
Exactly. So by receiving donor blood, you're then topping up that sickle cell sufferer with healthy hemoglobin, right? Healthy blood cells. Now the exchange, which is the other one, which is the preventative measure, which is on occasion, they'll bring you into the hospital, and what they'll do is they'll take out all your blood and put in a completely fresh batch of new blood.
Is like a is that transfusion?
No,
What is that?
That's an exchange.
An exchange.
So
they
literally
can drain your
blood.
body.
They literally, it took me until it happened to me.
How can they
Until
take
it
out
happened-
all your blood?
I know.
How?
I know. Until I actually saw it, I couldn't get my head around it either. How do you take out my blood when you're putting in blood, and then the blood that you're taking out is not the blood that you just put in? What they're doing is they're washing your blood. So how many pints of blood does a human body have? They say 8 or something like that, isn't it?
You know better than I would.
I say about 8 pints. So that's imperial measurements. I couldn't tell you how much is it in milliliters or whatever.
Yeah.
But when they're doing an exchange,
Pints of blood.
they're using
Oh.
about 13 to 15 pints of blood
To exchange.
because they're washing your
Take
blood.
this off, I'm hot. Sorry.
So what they're doing is as they're putting in to ensure that they've got all of the 8 pints of blood out of your body, they're having to put in 12 and 15 to complete that cycle. And it's literally a big massive bag of blood that you're left with at the end of it. And it's all blood that just gets binned, chucked away.
How did you feel when you saw that for the first time?
I was overwhelmed. To have like a rucksack full of blood is crazy. It's just crazy.
You saw it come in, you saw it come out of you, or was you?
Yeah, I was awake. Yeah, they do it while you're awake. Yeah, they do it while you're awake. Yeah, and it's like a big massive bag of blood when you finished.
Is there anything that you want to talk about relating to the condition, or relating to any experience that you've had in and around a condition, in and around hospitals, in and around your family life, in and around, or stories you have of other people's testimonials that you feel is important to get out there to everybody, or for people to hear about? It could be a story, it could be something that you've heard, it could be a motivational thing, it could be a quote, any of the above. It could be just something you want to talk about.
Well, I mean, all I would really say is this with regards to the condition. We have to remember the 2 most important points, because within the condition of sickle cell, owing to the treatments that are currently available, this can cause its own problems, because the drugs which are used to treat the disease, there are drugs which are historically looked at with negative connotations. But remember these 2 things.
Like which ones?
Like the fentanyl epidemic in the United States at the moment.
Okay.
And people who use opioids for recreational purposes, not suffering from a condition with which would warrant the taking of those medications. Remember these 2 things. The first thing is the sickle cell sufferer hasn't chosen to suffer from sickle cell. Okay? He doesn't have the disease by choice. You know? I'm in the situation that I'm in because this disease has been passed on to me. Now, I don't have any beef about that. I don't have any bones about that. It's just my life. Would I trade my sickle cell condition for another condition? No. Would I trade my sickle cell for a healthy, unafflicted state? No, I wouldn't.
No?
No, I wouldn't.
Why?
Because I wouldn't. Don't ask me why, but I wouldn't. But through my condition, my eyes have been opened to so many other things. Okay? Through being in the hospital, what has been generated in me is a compassion and an understanding about mortality, an understanding about illness, understanding about suffering, understanding about pain, understanding about loss. I've seen people in the hospital lose. I've seen grown men the size of you lose people and be in completely absolute pieces. And for me to be able to walk up to that person and put my arms around them, no words, but just to put my arms around them and to have that person hold me like I was their own child, so that they can release in that moment in time. I believe I'm put in the hospital for a reason at that time. At that time. Yeah. So I'm not going to begrudge my condition. I'm not going to begrudge what I've been given in my life to deal with, because the next person out there, he's probably got something worse. You know, the person who, the guy who's got no trainers on his feet, he's got no trainers on, or he's got no socks on, because, you know, he's got no socks on his feet, he's thinking, oh, I need socks. And then the guy who's got no socks sees the guy with no shoes. The guy that's got no shoes sees the guy with no feet. The guy with no feet sees the guy with no legs. What situation would you be? Are you going to complain about you not having any socks or any shoes then? When you see the guy with no feet and no legs? Of course you're not. So it's just about being aware of, yes, maybe maybe I'm not weak. Maybe I'm strong.
You are strong.
Because I've been given a condition which
You
takes
are strong.
incredible strength to be able to endure.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
I mean, to my understanding, the mortality rate is
It's-
below your age.
They told my foster parents I would be dead by 12 years old.
Wow.
I'm 44, 12 once, 12 twice, 12 3 times, 12, 24, 36, 48, almost 12 years old 4 times over.
See?
They
But
said,
you had to
they
live
said
with
this
that,
child would not live to be 12 years old.
Yeah. Well, did they make you aware of that when
Huh?
was you aware of that when you was younger? Was you told that?
Yeah. Yeah. And my mum, remember I told you earlier, my mum reminds me of that. And I just break down,
Yeah. So-
you know,
so
when I
let's-
hear that.
let's-
Because if
let's-
it wasn't 12 years old, then they're telling me, oh no, he's not going to get to 18. And then, oh, he's not going to get to 25. And then definitely he's going to be dead at 40.
Did that push you harder when
You're too right, it did.
You need
Why?
to be on camera.
Because
You see
I
you.
because I want to take anything over me. Remember what I said? I will do something just to prove you wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
So I asked you to put a pin in something earlier.
Mm.
When you said when you got to 30, things came to a head and everything. Remember we didn't talk about that. I
Yeah,
digress.
but when I-
so
yeah,
what was it?
but when I
Was
came
that
to-
one of the things we was
When I
talking
came
about?
when I got to 30 years old, it's actually off topic. But when
Yeah,
I got
no,
to
no.
30
Let's go ahead. That's why I left it. I was to go into the sickle
So-
cell. If you want to
let me give
continue
you the
with
second
sickle cell
point.
now, and then we could talk
All right,
about.
let me give you the second point
afterwards.
because I think there was 2 things.
Yeah, no
So the
problem.
first thing is the person doesn't choose to have sickle cell, right? And the second thing is that the person doesn't choose the medication which is
Alleviates
used,
it.
which it's not our fault that they have to give us strong opiate. It's not our fault that this medication is abused. So don't make that my problem.
Don't let you suffer for it because other people are abusing it.
Exactly.
Don't make you not be able to get it
Exactly.
because of the epidemic of
Because it's
people
like,
taking it.
yeah, because it's like being kicked while you're down. It's like being kicked while you're down. You know,
Yeah.
that's their problem. If your history and your research says that I need this serious drug every 90 minutes in order to alleviate my pain, because the half-life of these drugs are relatively short. Fentanyl is through your system within 40 minutes.
It goes from your system and it's out in
40
40
minutes.
minutes.
The half-life is 20 minutes. It's rapid onset, fast acting, but short half-life. So in 20 minutes, the power of the drug is already halved in your body, which is why it's given so frequently. So when you're given fentanyl in hospital, it's every 5 minutes.
So what about the other ones? They stay in your system longer, but that's the most effective one for your condition, or and everyone
Yeah.
differs, like you just said, isn't it?
Yeah, the other one's about 3 hours. They're giving every 90 minutes instead of every 5 minutes. They're all around that sort of mark.
Okay.
But in my 30s, when I became 30 years old,
5, yeah.
I brought my son into the world.
Oh wow! Congratulations!
Yeah.
Congratulations!
And he turned my life on its head. You know, things came to a head with my ways as a 20-year-old something, you know. There was maybe some overlap in the girls that I was seeing, you know, small overlaps.
What did you say? No, sorry, I've never heard you. Sorry, say again.
I'm saying when I got to 30, I realized that, you know, I needed to basically start to do things a little differently, you know. And when my son came into the world, he came in, you know, people say there's never a right time to have a child. He came in at the right time. He definitely came
For
in.
you, it's the right time. Yeah.
And then when you have a child, all of your priorities change in an instant. The minute you hold your child for the first time, all your priorities change in that instant, you know. And I just started to live, you know,
For the child.
my life.
Different
You start to live for the.
How was your? I'm gonna get. Wait. I'm gonna get you to pick 3 cards to ask you questions.
13 now. My
How
son's
was your
13.
mum when you had your child?
Oh, she was over the moon. Yeah, she was over the moon. Yeah,
Imagine.
over the moon.
Could
You know,
imagine.
happy.
So you pick 3 cards from me.
3.
Yeah, well, you can pick more if you want, but I don't know if you have time to read them all.
Take this one. Take that one. And one more.
Yeah, mama. Take 2 more, just in case you don't want to answer one. And you pass them back to me. Don't look them. No.
Don't look at it.
No.
Okay, all right.
You can't see you. You can't see the cards, mate. How about that? Yeah. So, tell me something about you No one knows.
That was a card that was there.
Yeah.
Wait, you got more than one of those cards?
No.
don't you?
I can relinquish this. If you don't want to,
No. I want to answer.
You want to answer the question?
I saw that on the floor, and
Okay.
I thought, how am I going to answer that?
Yeah,
question?
it's just
All
one
right.
of them. I never shuffled them well.
This is how I'm going to answer that question.
Go on.
All right. What am I going to do when the next person asks me that same question? If I tell you something now,
What are you gonna do next person ask you a question?
what am I going to do the next time somebody asks me?
What are you gonna do? I don't fucking know.
I'm not going to give him an answer.
You have to give an answer.
Because I've told you.
And so
So that's your answer.
you can't be cryptic.
You know what I'm saying, innit?
Nah, you trying to be cryptic.
It says, the card says, tell me something about you that nobody else knows.
Yeah.
Well, if I tell you, how am I going to answer that question the next time somebody asks?
Yeah, but you're not answering my question. You got to answer. I want to answer to my question.
Get it in a minute.
All right, I don't get it. Yeah, I'm very blonde sometimes. I swear.
Next question.
What's your first love?
Ooh. It was a 1 liter Vauxhall Nova. And I got it as my first
Oh,
car.
man. Straight answer. I fucking love that. Go on. 1 litre box of lovely.
Vauxhall
What colour
Nova
was it?
black, right? I backed it into a trolley park in Sainsbury's, destroyed the whole tailgate, and the tailgate that I got in return was one with a spoiler on it. It had no headrest. Bad boy car. It had no headrest.
Jamaican coming out here now. Do you have any party tricks? Or do you have a
I
party?
used to.
What
I
was it?
used
What
to.
was it?
And the hospital robbed me. I used to be able to make all of the veins jump out of my arms.
Oh, wow.
It was like a A to Z. On my
Yeah.
arm.
Wow.
My veins were excellent, and the hospital robbed me of my veins.
Wow.
And that's something that really burns me.
Scary.
Really, really burns me.
That's scary. Right. Final question for you, Andy George.
Okay.
It's been an experience. I hope people have learned from this, and I hope
I hope so.
we can talk and elaborate on this furthermore. Just talk about experiences that you've gone through and other people go through.
Yeah.
And we'll close it up after this though. Still, advice to your younger self.
Ooh, that's a good question.
It's a good show.
Save your money.
Save your money.
Save your money much earlier. Put your money away much earlier on.
Nice.
Stop trying to play catch up. You have to play. You're not playing catch up in your 40s. Put money away when you're younger.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good advice. I wish
Then
I
you can
told myself
then
that
you
when I
can
was
travel
younger.
more. Yeah, I was too busy buying BMWs and all sorts. You
You
know.
gotta live a little. Baby. So have you got anything you want to, any last closing thoughts? Anything you want to ask me or the
I
wizard?
will say thank you. Definitely, I want to say thank you for having me. It's been an experience.
Nah,
You know,
I'm glad to have
you
you.
know, that you blew me out of my shell a little bit. You know.
Yeah, not far enough though.
Some of
Could
these
have come on the
things-
camera.
no,
Yeah.
some of these things I wouldn't dare talk about. But
Yeah.
there was a time in my life when I went to go and see a counsellor, and I had a good experience and a bad experience with counselling. My first experience, the guy didn't from the first week I saw him to the second week, he didn't even remember who I was. So I was like, what is this guy? You know, it was a waste of time. But then I went and saw a good psychologist, and she helped me get the rejection, get all of that feeling out, and that was very good. So that's probably why I'm comfortable in speaking to you
Good.
about some of the things.
Thank God
you
for
know,
that
some of
good
the things that
therapist,
I did.
man.
But I just want to say thank you for having me on. You know, there's a lot of information online now about sickle cell if you want to learn more about it. Yeah, it's through education that we get rid of this disease. By knowing you do not want to bring a sickle baby into the world, regardless of your love for your partner. There are plenty of children out there like me who are ready, lovable children to be fostered. They all don't have problems like I did. But there are a load of children out there who need homes, you know. But don't bring a sickle baby into this world.
If you can,
It's not something that your heart will be able to contend with for the duration of their life. It's not cool. It's not cool.
I wanna just share this with you, if I can find it now.
Is it a poem?
Yeah. How do you know? How do you know?
I had to do my research on you.
You researched me, yeah?
Are you on social media or anything like that? Or
Yes, no. Actually, I mean, I have an Instagram account. I have TikTok and all of that, but I don't put anything.
okay.
The only thing I put stuff out on Instagram, but it's
How long have we got left? Have we got enough time?
Yeah, for the phone. Yeah, of course.
Right, this poem is written for someone else, but it's written for this as well. Yeah?
yeah.
All right, it goes like this. Sorry, guys, I'm reading from the thing. I don't like to read from my phone, you know. I don't advocate it. Yeah, no, just so I don't mess it up, I'm going to read from the phone. Just so I don't mess it up. I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to, like, you know what I mean? Bonded by blood. From the earth, we are gods, created from mud. One shape, one frame. Many children still the same. I will be the change to make a change. Can you visualize? Everything looks normal. Sickness you can't explain. Have you ever seen a child in pain with a living hell called sickle cell, needing drugs and blood to help feel well? If you could help, would you? Then help. Give blood, a piece of yourself. Contribute to the nation's wealth. Your nation, across the world, like oysters. Like in oysters, black pearls. The time has come to support each other. Different feelings, one mother. Africa, give back to her. Rearrange your thinking, reframe your mind frame. I am you, you are me, we are the same. Remember Richard Orokun, yeah? Don't let his death be in vain. His family's loss, our education. Tell his story across the world, spread it throughout the nation. Give blood if you're black and you can, no hesitation. We can't bring Richard back, but as a community, we can attack that which attacks us. Together we're stronger. Help each other live longer. Life, a gift from above. We are one nation, one species. We're human. Believe me, don't be assuming because you look different, you are different. You're not. Ignorance has to stop. Open your hearts, release the love. Help a stranger because we're all bonded by blood. And that's the piece.
Yes.
Yeah. When I remember it, I give some more. But it's real.
Very
profound. It's real.
Yeah.
And ignite people to move and do something, you know?
All of us as black people come from one continent. See, a lot of people don't know. So people in the Caribbean, people in the West Indies, when we was in school, we used to take the mick, it was cool. It wasn't cool to be, from Africa. In my days at school, there was always them and us sort of thing. Yeah. But when you study the history that we were taken from the west of Africa and taken to the people in the Caribbean, there are Spanish people. Those are the people, and Native Americans. Those are the people that originally dwelled in those areas. So there's no difference. We're all from one place.
Yeah.
All
Africa.
from one place.
Come
Africa.
on.
Nowhere else.
Come on.
Nowhere else.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
That was Life Talks with Andy George.
Thank you.
The Wizard.
Thank you for having me.
And me, Fawole. Thank you so much for listening, man. Yes. Come on. Big up.